I declare the summer 2016 Bossier Parish Community College commencement exercises open. The commencement exercises will begin with the prayer of invocation by Mrs. Allison Martin, Director of Institutional Effectiveness Initiatives, the Pledge of Allegiance by Dr. Ray Scott Crawford, Dean of Communication and Performing Arts, and the national anthem sung by Mrs. Alana Stokes, BIPSI Associate of Arts in Performing Arts, music major.
I invite you to join me in prayer. Our Father and Creator, today we recognize the accomplishments of our graduates and join with them, with their families and friends, in this time of celebration. We pray for your blessings as they move forward, that they will use the privilege of an education to help others along the way. We're thankful for our college, our staff and faculty, whose lives are dedicated to helping others reach their dreams. We're mindful of many of our loved ones who are away from their families and cannot be here. We're thankful for those who serve our country and pray for your blessings upon our state and nation. Let each of us strive to see each other in the light of your love and grace. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. It is my privilege to welcome you on behalf of the faculty, staff, and administration of Bossier Parish Community College to the 73rd commencement ceremony for this college. I am Lisa Taylor Dupree, Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. Today is a remarkable day with the graduation of 115 students receiving 158 credentials. It is a time for everyone, as a parent, a family member, a friend, a colleague, and a member of the BIPSI family, to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of these graduates. At this time, I would like to introduce the individuals who are on the stage. Karen Recchia, Vice Chancellor for Student Services. Dee Dee Mitchell, Dean of Behavioral Social Sciences and College Transition Programs. Peggy Fuller, Dean of Student Success and Dean of Business. Dr. Ray Scott Crawford, Dean of Communication and Performing Arts. Richard Cockerham, Registrar. Kathleen Vircher, Dean of Enrollment Management. Dr. Rick Bateman, Jr., Chancellor. Craig C. Spawn, Executive Director and President of the Cyber Innovation Center. Tom Williams, Executive Vice Chancellor. Gail Flowers, Vice Chancellor for Economic and Workforce Development. Dr. Holly French Hart, Associate Vice Chancellor of Institutional Effectiveness, Strategic Planning, and Assessment. Raymond Gaines, Professor of Business. Vicki Dennis, Dean of Liberal Arts. Carolyn Burroughs, Dean of Science, Nursing, and Allied Health. Sandra Partain, Dean of Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. Charles Cameron, Dean of Educational Technology. Brenda Brantley, Dean of Learning Resources. Lisa Wargo, Dean of Workforce Development and Continuing Education. Allison Martin, Director of Institutional Effectiveness Initiatives. Jennifer Lawrence, Interim Dean of Grants. Katrina Sproles, the 2016-17 Staff Senate President. Destiny Wesley, 2016-17 Student Government Association President. The Allied Health Program Directors will be recognized a little bit later in the program. At this time, I'd also like to recognize a very special group. It is the summertime, so all of our faculty are not with us today. However, we do have many who are here. Faculty, would you please stand to be recognized? Thank you very much. At this time, we have a special presentation. We have a student who attended Bossier Parish Community College by the name of Mr. Douglas Lloyd Colston, Sr. Mr. Colston passed away before he was able to receive his credential. His family is with us today, and we are so proud. Mrs. Colston shared some information with me concerning her husband. Mr. Colston was 47 years old. Earlier, I shared that our spring graduation, our youngest graduate was 17, and I believe our oldest graduate was 71. So we have students of all ages. Mr. Colston was 47 years old. He was married to Juanita Colston. He was born in Moore, Oklahoma, and he graduated from Moore High School and attended Criswell Theological Seminary in Dallas, Texas. Mr. Colston worked for O&M Restaurant Group in Oklahoma prior to being transferred to Louisiana in November of 2011. He was the district supervisor for O&M Restaurant Group South, which is all the Burger Kings in Shreveport, Bossier City, and Minden. He worked with this group for 10 years before changing careers. In December of 2014, he decided it was time to move from the restaurant business, and he moved to the loan business. Mr. Colston and Mrs. Colston have 8 children and 2 grandchildren: Melody, Jessica, Matthew, Tanner, Douglas, Hunter, Autumn, Michaela, Harley Lynn, and Zane Rhett. He enjoyed his family. He enjoyed coaching, recreational football, and baseball. He was always a supporter of his children. Mrs. Colston said he was the dad 100% of the time. Being a very successful businessman, he decided in 2013 to return to school to pursue a degree so that he could show his children that education always comes first. He always wanted his children to excel in everything they participated in, particularly their education. As he pushed, he wanted them to see him practicing what he preached. He also was the ideal supervisor. He did not believe in the "I can't" attitude. Instead, he always would ask, "Have you tried?" First and foremost, he was a family man. At this time, I'd like to ask for Mrs. Colston and her family to please come to the stage. Dr. Bateman would like to present the award for Mr. Colston to his family at this time. Thank you so much for allowing us that honor.
It is my pleasure and my honor to introduce our commencement speaker, Mr. Craig Spahn. Craig has 35 years of business experience in the information technology field, working in international, commercial, and federal government markets. Craig is the executive director of the Cyber Innovation Center, a public-private initiative with the mission to support research, education, and technology advancement for the nuclear and cyber domain. The Cyber Innovation Center accomplishes this mission by fostering collaborative and strategic alliances between governmental agencies, private industry, and academic institutions. Before serving as the executive director of the CIC, Craig was with Science Applications International Corporation, where he served as vice president for Middle East business and coordinated the company's Saudi Arabian business as general manager of the Saudi joint venture. Craig is a consummate citizen. He serves on several boards, foundations, committees, councils, and associations. Some of those organizations include the Biomedical Research Foundation of Northwest Louisiana, the Bossier Chamber of Commerce Board, the Consortium for Education, Research, and Technology, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse for Northwest Louisiana Board, the FBI Citizens Academy, the Louisiana Committee of 100 for Economic Development, the Rotary Club of Shreveport, the Louisiana State University at Shreveport Science and Technology Council, the Louisiana Tech University Computer Science Industrial Advisory Board, the Military Affairs Council Board of Directors, and my personal favorite, the Louisiana Community and Technical College System Board of Supervisors. Craig and his wife Stacy have a son, Sam, and two daughters, Caroline and Sarah Catherine. Ladies and gentlemen, please provide a warm BIPSI welcome to Mr. Craig Spahn.
Good morning. I don't think that was some of the boards I serve on. I'm pretty sure that was all of them. So I'd like to thank Dr. Bateman for the opportunity to be with you here today. I'd also like to thank your parents and professors and anybody else you credit with having helped get you here today. It's a privilege to be with you, and I'm excited for you, and I'm very proud for you. It's a terrific accomplishment. If you look around, you'll see an interesting and continuing shift in the makeup of college classes. The shift is in the number of traditional and non-traditional students. Many of you graduating are young with your whole future ahead of you, while many have come back to college to provide advanced opportunities for yourselves and your family. Several of you are doing that while holding down a job and raising kids and going to school. And I can't imagine trying to do that myself anymore. So God bless you. So that's the traditional and non-traditional student. And Bossier Parish Community College is a really good example of how diverse that student population can be. But with so many different perspectives that comes with that diversity, it's difficult to think about what the topic for a commencement speech should be today. A commencement speech should be something that's happy and uplifting and preparing you to go out into the world to change it for the better, as if the world that you've been in isn't real enough. You're going to go out into this real world. But the one that we've got right now and the events that are shaping that world make for an incredibly interesting time period in our country. So I was thinking about this question of topic, and I decided to ask a young lady seated next to me on an airplane what she thought I should talk about. And she said it would be good to hear about what I had done and how I had done it, and to talk about my experiences. And I don't think I'm going to do exactly that, but she did remind me of something that I think of as kind of a funny statement, because it's so true. And it goes like this: I may not be much, but I'm all I think about. And maybe it's not as funny as it is true, but it is true. It's not something that I want to admit. It's pretty common. It's hard not to think about yourself all the time. But hang with me for just a minute while we dig into this. Some of you may have already figured this out, but it's taken me this long to come to know and better understand this topic of personal responsibility. And I hadn't really thought about it in these terms until I sat down to write this. So throughout my career, I've always chosen somebody I wanted to be more like. I kind of picked out the people who had the things that I thought I wanted: the job, the title, whatever it may have been. And rather than go up and do the sensible thing and ask them how they did that, I guessed. I just guessed at what they must have done and how they got there. The reason I did that, I guess, is a little bit more telling. I was scared to ask them because I was afraid that they would think that I didn't know, I wasn't very smart, that I needed help, nothing I really wanted to demonstrate to them in the way of a weakness that I might have. So can you see the problem? The problem was I wasn't very smart, and I did need help, and I didn't know enough to ask. But thankfully, as God would have it, the things that I needed were getting accomplished, but I still didn't want to ask the people I respected how they did things for fear they may think less of me. That matters in a minute. But as life goes on, you get older, and the things I were admiring in others were changing. Foolishly, the people that I was admiring had things like influence and money, credentials, and the recognition of others. And oddly enough, some of those things were being accomplished in my life. And for a short period of time, maybe longer than I want to admit, I thought I'd made something of myself. And that's a pretty dangerous mental place to be in, because if you get stuck there, you're going to be miserable, and you're going to make everybody around you miserable. You'll always be comparing your inside feelings of accomplishment and self-worth to other people's outward appearance of those same things. You'll always find that there's somebody richer, somebody more successful, somebody more interesting, somebody with more of whatever it is you think you need out there. But fortunately, I eventually realized that those things are not going to satisfy anything but near and midterm goals in my life. They're not going to make me a better person. And maybe I didn't realize it so much as I just figured out that what I was doing wasn't really working out the way I thought it would. Life continued to happen, and some of my near and midterm goals got realized. And that's an important life lesson. You need to set goals. It's how you know you've gotten done what you wanted to get done. However, you come to understand that while those are good things to check off, those things are not the end state you want to point to as your example of a meaningful life. Those things aren't going to lead to fulfillment and happiness. What I realized was that I did have people in my life I wanted to be more like, and that those people were now different. Money and material things were far less important. Those things were not what I wanted to define me or the attributes I wanted to exhibit. What began to grow increasingly more important was family and friends and reputation, but not reputation as it relates to I'm important, look at me. Reputation as it relates to simple integrity. Today, there are several people I'd like to tell you about that I choose to look to as life examples. Several of them are up here. I think Dr. Bateman is a great one, but I don't want him to think I'm sucking up, so I'm going to talk about a couple of others. These guys are good friends of mine, and I'm fortunate to be able to spend time with them. They're people I want to spend time with, and that's another good life lesson. You can tell a lot about somebody by the company they keep. And that means that who you choose to spend your time with and how you choose to spend your time with them is really important. But back to my two good friends and life examples. They're very different people. One is the president of a university, and the other is a man with a small construction business that works very hard every day. Both of them work very hard every day. But what they have in common is what attracts me to them. That attraction is integrity and genuine concern for people. They both do that very differently, but they both do it very effectively. One nurtures and builds people up to achieve their potential. The other uses a harsher approach and tone, but he does so with respect for the person and their best interests in mind. It's enjoyable to watch them and learn from them. Today they do these things as a matter of habit. It comes naturally to them now. I can tell you it was not always natural for them either. As they developed in their field and they developed these skills and the confidence to use them, they grew as individuals. Let me tell you what I mean by that. They're sincerely interested in their fellow man or woman. They think of others before themselves. They want good for others without any expectation for themselves. Their interest is in seeing those people with whom they come in contact also develop and grow in the same way. That's not what they would tell you they're doing, but that is what they're doing. And that's the point. They've grown into this now natural role because they care to be personally responsible for themselves. I believe that's the key to success. It's a simple idea, but it's a difficult practice. Owning your side of the street, keeping it clean before, or more importantly, instead of worrying about someone else's side of the street is the key. What others think of me now is really none of my business. And that can be a pretty freeing concept, but it doesn't come naturally. Remember, I'm the same person that didn't want to ask questions of people because I was fearful that they might think less of me. What people think of me today is really none of my business. It's just me trying to do the best I can to take care of my side of the street. Now, this gets a lot more involved, though. That personal responsibility will continue to grow, and it grows into a community concern. And I'm not saying that now you can begin to address other people's side of the street. I'm trying to say that by taking care of your side of the street, it becomes important for you to look out for the community and get involved for the reason of improving it as a matter of personal responsibility. I think that's important, so I'd like to say it again. It'll become important for you to look out for your community and get involved for the reason of improving it as a matter of your personal responsibility. And that personal responsibility is not necessarily in there. The issues we face in our country, I think in large part, can be traced back to this issue. Except that if you do these things, you will succeed and you will have personal satisfaction. But you'll also realize that there's a larger responsibility. As we take our personal responsibility for ourselves and our community seriously, it begins to expand, and we become concerned with larger issues that impact our community, our country, and our world. We want for our future generations, our children, to have the opportunity and advantages that we have, and that starts with us. That's our personal responsibility. So to wrap this up, set goals. It's how you know you got done what you needed to do. Pick the folks you want to be more like, but check your motives when you do that. Be honest with yourself. We can justify anything we want to ourselves. In order to be personally responsible, you've got to be honest with yourself first. But in the end, take personal responsibility for yourself, and everything else will take care of itself. Godspeed, good luck. Thank you for your attention.
That was a powerful, authentic message of personal responsibility from a man who leads and serves in our community, in our state, and really in our nation. So, Craig, I really want to thank you for that, and I'd like for us to give him one more round of applause. The associate degrees and certificates will now be conferred. Lisa Taylor Dupree, Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and the academic deans will present the candidates for degrees and certificates. Richard Cockerham, College Registrar, will award the degrees and certificates, assisted by Kathleen Vircher, Dean of Enrollment Management.
Will the candidates for graduation please rise? Chancellor Bateman, it is my privilege to report to you that the candidates here assembled have qualified in all respects for certificates and associate degrees by successfully completing curricula offered by the divisions of Bossier Parish Community College. And I am pleased to recommend to you, with the confirmation of the faculty and the academic deans, that they be awarded the certificates and associate degrees, as is in each case appropriate, in recognition of their academic accomplishments. I am honored to recommend that they be granted their certificates and degrees symbolic of these academic achievements.
Upon your recommendation, and by the authority vested in me by the Louisiana Community and Technical College Board of Supervisors, I do hereby award you the academic certificates and associate degrees as indicated.
Symbolic of your graduation, will you now move your tassels from the right to the left? Will the graduates on the first row please remain standing and all others be seated? For those seated, the marshals will indicate when you are to stand and move forward. Will those standing please come forward and receive your degrees and certificates? I recognize the appropriate deans to present graduates in their respective divisions.
For the Associate of Applied Science in Care and Development of Young Children, Samantha Doris May Traps. For the Associate of Applied Science in Criminal Justice, Erica Gabrielle Falkenstein. Aubriana Kritava Williams.
For the Associate of Applied Science and Business Administration, Sheila Andrews. Eleanor Marie Chandler. Congratulations. Andre Lamont Henson Jr. Shelby Nicole Music. Italy Simpson. Robert Austin Smith. Holly Danielle Tamala. For the Associate of Science in Healthcare Management, Larry Wayne Norwood. For the Associate of Arts in Louisiana Transfers in Business, Rainey Gail Laverne Matthews.
For the Associate of Applied Science and Communication Media, Melanie Johnson Hyatt. Paulina Ariel Wiggins. Steve DeRozel Williams.
For the Associate of General Studies, Christopher Adam Brown. Tiffany Rochelle Brown. Denton Grant Emerson. Laura Ann Grafton. Destiny Danielle Kelly. Jennifer Lynn Marcucci. Rashawn Amanda McGee. Tony Aaron Miller. Michael Adam Murphy.
Assisting with the awarding of the Allied Health Program pins are Laura Bryant, Program Director, Physical Therapy Assisting Program; Kim Cox, Academic Clinical Coordinator, Physical Therapy Assisting Program; and Jennifer Anderson, Director of Clinical Education for the Respiratory Therapy Program. The Technical Diploma in Medical Assistant, Leah Waldron. For the Certificate of Technical Studies in Pharmacy Technician, Bara Shahada. The Associate of Applied Science in Physical Therapist Assistant, Matthew Rant. John Basinger. Whitney Eubanks. Sydney Fincher. April Garrison. Rebecca Grutner. Anna Hooper. Cadence Leber. Amber Lanetti. Leslie Luttrell. Maria McCarty. Caitlin Medley. Stephanie Mercer. Angela Rash. John Scoggins. Barana Smith. Damian Spillman. Christine Warren. The Associate of Applied Science in Respiratory Therapy. Lauren Adams. Carly Brunson. Megan Clifford. Rebecca Davis. Kenneth Dawson II. Jennifer DeMoss. Kaylin Fitzgerald. Sheila McCoy. Angela McKinney. Rachel Rogers. Shelby Seabrantz. Ashley Tisdale. Colton Wiggins. The Associate of Science in General Science. Kelly Adams. Jamie Forgy. Brittany Galloway. Adrian Jones. Demi McCrae. Richard Rogers.
For the Associate of Applied Science in Cyber Technology Network Security, Stacy Miller. For the Associate of Applied Science in Oil and Gas Production Technology, Derek Jerome Hadley. Seth Leon Wood.
Ladies and gentlemen, the summer 2016 graduating class of Bossier Parish Community College. Congratulations again. Following in the college's tradition of a faculty member giving the closing remarks, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Raymond Gaines, Professor of Business here at Bossier Parish Community College. Mr. Gaines earned his Bachelor of Arts in History at Louisiana State University, Shreveport, his Master of Business Administration at Louisiana State University, Shreveport, and his Juris Doctorate at Oklahoma City University School of Law. He's been teaching for 18 years. Mr. Gaines enjoys his students and his subjects. When I asked him what he liked most about teaching, here's what he told me. Although I'm the teacher and in charge of exposing students to new ideas, it is often I who learn from others. The exchange that occurs in this marketplace of ideas is truly the most illuminating part of education for me. Moreover, he stated, I find the subject of business to be fascinating. It is science and part philosophy, and this makes it an ever-moving target of study. When Mr. Gaines isn't teaching, he loves spending time with his family and friends. He loves the outdoors, and I've known Mr. Gaines for a very long time, and I found out something that I did not know. In addition to loving the outdoors, he has a unique hobby of raising box turtles and putting them to an occasional competitive race. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Raymond Gaines.
Thank you. It is a true honor to give these closing remarks before this group of graduates. Many of you I've taught, and surely most of you I love very much. I have never done this before, so bear with me. When I was asked by the Vice Chancellor to do this, I said, well, what should I say? What should I talk about? And she gave me the most helpful advice. She said confidently to me, Raymond, I understand that from my experience that the speaker's personality and passions will guide them through all of their comments. I immediately began thinking, well, I'm a passionate guy. This is going to be great. It's going to be E. And then she stopped my thought and interrupted me, my train of thought, and said, no matter what, Raymond, you make sure you keep it short. I wanted my remarks to be creative and unique, so I asked the art teacher, Professor McDade, who has actually done this before, for her advice. She painted two beautiful points for me. She said, congratulate them first and inspire them next. And remember, Raymond, keep it short. So graduates of 2016, you've done it. My first point, congratulations. Lastly, I would like to say, I hope to inspire you with some things I know and what I believe. What I know is business. I teach it. One important thing we study in our business program is how to set, achieve, analyze, and prioritize goals, something Mr. Spahn was talking about earlier. We teach that all goals have two components to them. They have a measurable result, and secondly, a time frame in which to achieve them. You know, the Red Cross might have a goal like this: increase the public awareness of the Zika virus by 15% by December 31st. And obviously personal goals that all of you have had to successfully complete, you have done, to graduate in the summer of 2016. You'll have many goals in life. You'll have short-term goals. Some of them you'll finish this very day. You'll have long-term goals that'll go for years, maybe even decades, some of your goals. You'll be successful with a lot of them, is my prayer for you, and that'll be a great thing. Some of them you won't be successful with, and that's okay too. You know, in our department, we also teach that goals can only complement something else. Goals support what we refer to as a mission, the mission of the business. The mission is what the company is in business for. It is why it exists. It is what it is about. It is usually expressed in just a few words, but it keeps those who set the goals on track. For example, the mission of the American Red Cross, I read to you. The American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. Just as we set goals in business, we set them in our personal lives. And just as businesses have missions, so too can we also be defined with our own personal missions. So I ask you, graduates, what is your mission? Why do you exist? What are you about? You know, it seems that all the good closing remarks that I've ever heard, they always come with a memorable quote from a famous person. And since I'm supposed to be short, I just have one for you. This quote was from a boy about 12 years old, and he is clearly stating his mission in life. At the time, it may have been spoken to only one person, his mother. You see, a personal mission statement need not be declared to anyone else. However, it must be fully understood by the one setting the goal and carrying them out. This boy understood fully what he was saying, and he spent the rest of his life carrying out the mission, even until his dying day. He is known throughout the world for the way he lived his short life of 33 years, according to the mission he declared at the young age of 12. His teachings have been studied and practiced by multitudes throughout the ages. His story has been told for thousands of years, and the printed version of it has been translated in more languages than any other book on the face of the planet. The story is told of a large extended family traveling several days by foot to attend a week-long festival in another city. On their return home, they realized their 12-year-old son, Jesus, was not with the caravan. The parents go back for him, and after 3 days of searching for him, they find him safe, and he's in the midst of all these teachers and scholars. He was talking with them like he was their equal, and they were all astonished at the answers that he was providing. But his mother, as any mother would be, was still upset with him and asked, "How could you do this to us?" His response was a simple yet profound statement. It was his mission statement. He said, "Don't you know? I must be about my Father's business." That business was leading people to his Father. And he did, and he does. The full account of the story can be found in the Gospel of Luke if you'd like to look at it. So, short, and in conclusion, I want to charge you graduates with your turn tassels and your diplomas in your hands. I want you to clearly define the mission of your life. I want you to make sure that all of your goals support it. And every day and in everything you do, go forth and be about it. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gaines. On behalf of the faculty, staff, and administration, I would like to thank you for your attendance at today's graduation ceremony. Will the audience please remain seated for the recessional? Will the graduates, stage party, and faculty please rise for the recessional?